Joining me on Zoom is Deputy Minister for Education, very constant guest here on the show, Dr. Adutwum. Doc, it's good to see you. It's been a very long time.
It's been a long time. These are not normal times.
Not at all. I'm sure that you're following the report. I have one more for you, though.
Okay, sure.
Right. So this is a report that Maxwell Agbagba put together from Choco. E-learning or no learning at all. Take a look.
Choco is a fishing community here in the greater Accra region. On a Friday when you come here, there are a lot of activities. Some of the children here will be in school studying. Some of them also, of course, will be at the beach helping their parents with fishing activities. But that is not the case today. All the children today, around this time, this Friday afternoon, are at home because schools are closed. I'm here to meet the Crab family. I'm here to basically find out from them how the children here have been studying. There are about 13 children in this small home. First of all, let me start with Teki. Teki, right? Dorcas. Okay, Dorcas. Do you enjoy being at home?
No.
Okay.
But I have friends online, so sometimes we learn online.
Okay.
They send me some questions, I answer them online. But I actually want to go to school because I feel bored sitting at home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Raymond Kakraba.
Raymond Kakraba. Which school do you attend?
Mamplowi Soko 88 Basic School at Girls School.
Okay. How has it been like being at home?
Not well. My school did not get touch with me.
So what have you been doing at home?
Just playing, and sometimes I read my books.
Okay. Do you know that you can go online to go and access questions and some other things?
Yes.
Okay. But do you go, or you don't have internet, or you don't have computer?
I don't have any of them. I don't have internet and computers.
Okay. So you can't learn online?
Yes.
Okay.
So say na me I banna.
Okay.
Tana trashi. Ba nye keke. She's says we lebe nwa me gwa meti. Shone amba shia.
Okay. Well, she's saying that she's worried because the children here are not going to school now because schools are obviously closed. She says previously she would have given them money to go for studies, but that is not the case now. And she's worried that they're at home idle, not really doing anything relating to studies. No, oh yeah, five from a cool. You know, I can't abide any African.
Me pa go te fai. Ko ni be me abon school ya. E ka shinu mo eba. Na me ka se ameni.
Okay.
Aka han me ka me fetch mo kobolo.
Okay.
Ame ka se ni.
Okay.
Ame jomo mba sese.
Okay. Okay. Well, she's also quite disturbed about the situation. She says they are retrogressing in terms of their studies. They are no longer progressing. And she's appealing to government if something can be done about the situation.
Akaya school na metashian. They study school ni afeni ameya amekase loko ga mencha metashi ameke o ama akwa me books amake amekase ni bro ana me no ame bolo ke ni bi abe o ka fe gba ona
well Chef Warren, she says that the children have resorted to personal studies, but even when they pick their books and they say they're going to learn, it ends up in fights and disagreements. You find them, you know, they start playing around, joking around, and then doing things that are not related to studies. Well, since I'm a teacher, I'm a contact here, I have a homework, WhatsApp, a low internet, a low local.
Dabi, no look where ya no, aha, my homework. New, dear, na can't tell us na homework new. Or bet Nakania Konika, our homework, and a mamma mania, mena, you could not make cassie. Or be anyone back, one with their fire kitchen. If you look on Bian, we can be a Tasha may ask where be a now make castle of you. Could I make the morning? It pays any be an any back. A back a big be a community or Bamelini be an cat. Oh, I tell you, book no can make. I mean, I make it. When I have a domon, but she won't probably won't pack up to finish you look where I will
be. She wants government to intervene. She feels that the children are retrogressing in terms of their studies. She says they do not have access to internet or to the computer to be able to follow teaching and learning online. But they want government to intervene in the situation because she feels that the children here are retrogressing in terms of their studies. No, Amabi.
So before we start talking with the minister, let's take a look at the interventions rolled out by governments to ensure that education continues despite the shutdown. So first of all, the Education Ministry tells us that there's an online study platform created for all senior high school students via the icampusgh.com. So that's icampusgh.com. There's also free-to-air 24-hour channel dedicated for broadcast of educational materials on GTV. Learning programs will be rolled out on all mediums. They tell us radio, television, and online. At least we know about the GTV one. Which other radio have you heard? You know, have you heard from the Education Ministry that has to do with education? Well, you can join me with your comment. Especially, I invite you to share your experience of how you are coping in these times of COVID-19 as far as education is concerned. I've asked some of you to send me your messages on how you're doing, what questions you have for the Deputy Minister who is joining us right this minute. I'll share with you some of the thoughts that you've shared so far. We'll be raising the Minister on Zoom once again so we can have that conversation. What do we do about people who don't have access to a laptop, for example, people who don't have access to a smartphone, for example? How do those people learn? Most of the things you're sending me has to do with when the BEC and the SSC student will go back to school. Those who are especially preparing for exams, how will they go back to school? That's a question I'm putting to the Deputy Education Minister right now, who is joining us via Zoom from his office. Doc, thank you so much for your patience and for hanging on all this while. So essentially, we have a background from which to start our conversation from. I do have some questions here which I'll put to you, but I'd like for you to first assess the interventions that the Education Ministry has put through already. How is it working?
Let me take this opportunity to thank you for inviting me, and also to say hello to your wonderful audience. I want to congratulate our teachers in various communities who have, as they always do, really stepped up and have done some innovative things. A student in Techima was talking about how questions are sent to him and how the father makes sure he answers them and sends it back to the headmaster.
Okay, it looks like I've lost.
Benedicta.
All right, so we're going to fix that up right there. A little bit of an interesting confusion there, but it's okay. It's okay. We can deal with this, can't we? We'll wait and get the minister to respond to the question that I had for him earlier on. He's just trying to fix this up. These are not normal times. That's what we mean when we say these are not normal times. Okay, so we get it fixed up. But most of you are sending questions. Your concerns are that when will the BEC student get back to school, those who need to write? When will the SSC student get back to school when they need to write? And some of the questions already coming in says, but it says, I have observed with great concern that there is an act carried out by the retailers of nose masks. Okay, you're talking about nose masks, and are asked to wear all the time. These retailers sell the masks which are not covered by anything. So they're selling the masks in the open and trying to get us to buy them and wear it. Immediately we buy it. Okay, I got Dr. Adutwum back on the Zoom with us. Let's see how this goes. All right. Certainly, these are not normal times, Doc. We totally understand. We totally understand. And I'm sure Benedicta understands too. So let's go on. You were telling us, Doc, about the teachers that you believe have stepped up and who you are congratulating. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying that across the country, there are pockets of innovation. And we need to congratulate our teachers. If you look at what the student from Techima was saying, the head teacher sends questions to them and they answer, the father sends it back to the head teacher and they give him feedback as to whether he's right or wrong. And those are attributes that we need to commend. That directive did not come from the Ghana Education Service, but the head teacher took the initiative and began to look at what he can do to support the children in his community. Let me tell you this, the Ghana Education Service has stepped up in the face of this coronavirus situation. They stepped up by making sure they quickly deployed the content from the distance education and open learning organization called Sendlos, and they were able to use the content from there immediately in partnership with GTV to begin to ensure that the students will have access to top-of-the-line content. In fact, lab activities and others have been prepared by Sendlos, and these are made available not just on TV, but also, aside from the TV, is the iCampus, where there are more activities for students to work on. Now, knowing that nobody prepared for COVID-19, what they've done is to immediately put content together for the primary and junior high school. As I speak with you, our teachers have been recruited across the country, and they are quickly putting content together that can be deployed on GTV so that students can have access to it. I fully understand that under the circumstances where nobody knew how the world was going to be in 2020, it will not be perfect. There are situations where we'll see inequity playing out right in front of us. And I saw a student who was talking about how he's using his books and he's learning from his books. Under some circumstances, things may not be perfect. But when I look at the documentaries you put together, I have hope. I have hope. A parent from Abu Abu who was saying that he is able to teach her children here and there, bit by bit. Not very well educated, but she's doing her very best. This has brought to the fore parent participation in education, something that until this time we're just preaching about. Parents are stepping up, and across the country, not a perfect situation at all, but our parents are doing their very best to help their children learn so that they don't get left behind. GS is also doing its very best under the direction of the minister to ensure that access is open up to the vast majority of our students so that they will not be, the students will not be left behind. So as you can see, it is not all bad news. In the face of COVID-19, some good things are happening. Of course, it's not perfect, but we believe that parents are stepping up and teachers and headmasters are stepping up, and Ghana Education Service is doing a very good job at this time.
About some of the questions I'm getting, there's one theme that's running through a number of questions that I have seen on my platform at the moment. Everybody seems to be concerned about when the BEC and the SSC students will go back to school. I know it's not clear to us, but perhaps there's been some conversation behind the scenes. Tell us.
I just want them to know that the President of the Republic is doing a fantastic job, not because he's the president who is on the ticket of my party, but he's a president who has really done more than anybody expected of any president around the world. When he first said that he knows how to make sure that the economy get reinvented, get brought back, but he doesn't know how to bring people back. He cannot resurrect people who we lose. So he's going to do everything. He followed it up with so many innovations. Talking about the 3-week lockdown support that had to be provided to a number of people. He is doing everything possible to make sure that he saves his people. And he is a distinguished individual with stellar leadership qualities, and it's being used at this time to the great benefit of our nation. Now, schools were ordered to close for very good reason, for the obvious reason. Can you imagine? One classroom, one student getting infected and spreading it to the rest of the students and taking it back home. We can wipe out the whole community. So it was in the right direction. We are not out of the woods yet, as the president rightly said, the last address to the nation, that he's monitoring everything at the appropriate time. He will evaluate restrictions that have been imposed. This is not the time to talk about, am I going to school tomorrow? Rightly so, the lockdown has been removed, but the lockdown removal does not mean we're out of the woods. And so I'll urge parents, students, to be patient. Patient because the president will not like to put a single life in harm's way. At the appropriate time, schools will be opened. I believe in the resiliency of Ghanaian children and Ghanaian teachers and the innovativeness of their approaches, and we'll be able to catch up at the right time when schools open. So we should all be patient. We should do our very best to make sure their books are home. You read wherever you can do to stay abreast of knowledge so that we can minimize learning loss. As is occasion, even during vacation, there's a huge learning loss. This is the time that we are consciously aware that we should avoid learning loss. So I applaud parents, but we are not out of the woods, to use the words of the president. And therefore, relax and understand that at the appropriate time, schools will open and we'll go back. We'll pick it up from where we left off. The pieces will be picked up, and I'm sure we'll be up to speed, and education will come back.
All right.
And we'll do our very best to make sure that children catch up with each other and with the rest of the world. Everybody's at a standstill, so we shouldn't worry at this time.
Yeah, right. So I will, because you have said that, I wanted to move the conversation to what we are doing whilst we are waiting. What can people do, those who don't have laptops? You hear some of the children say they don't have laptops. Some of them, they have parents who can't even guide them through because they are not internet savvy. They don't have a smartphone. What do those people do? And I have a typical question here someone has sent to me that captures my question. I'll just read it to you. He's sending it from Hohoi. He says, okay, he says, Gifty, ask Doc for me, if the person is at the village, how can he learn online? If the person even doesn't have light in his village, how is it going to come to town and go back? Most of the children, okay, question is a bit tricky, but he's saying essentially that if you don't have light, I was even talking about internet, but this one is talking about having light in the first place, not having it in the village. Is there a comprehensive program by the Ghana Education Service to reach the remotest part of the country where access to internet is terrible, even access to power is almost non-existent?
I'll tell you this, Gifty. These are valid questions, and I can empathize with them. But I grew up in the rural area where there were no lights, so I can understand. But bottom line is this. The good news is that a number of these children have books at home. It's our duty as parents to begin to make the best out of what we may call is not up to par with the rest of other students in other areas. Take the books, let the children read. You'll be amazed that this may be the first time they've seen their parents getting so much interested in them. And if the parents begin to dialogue with them, that I understand you don't have electricity here, we don't have this here. I don't want you to fall behind. Therefore, pick up your books, and every day I'm going to make sure that you read. A child who reads 30 minutes a day will get ahead of his peers, even if they were learning online. Let me tell you this, the resiliency of students and parents when they come together and they're determined in the face of odds and they say to themselves, in spite of this, we'll do our very best to catch up with the rest. They will do well. So yes, it's not the optimum, but we don't have to throw our hands up in the air and get your children to bring out their books and tell them that I may not understand what is in this book, but trust that you learn something from this. And can you please begin to read every day and do something from the books that you have brought home? Yes, it's not the optimum, but I believe that they will not be so far left behind and they will be able to catch up because determination can help us overcome some odds that may be up against us in a way that we can't even imagine. So I would just encourage them that it's not the end of the world. It's a bad situation. We may not have electricity in your town before the COVID-19 is eradicated, and therefore make use of the best resource that you have at your disposal, and that is the books that you have with you at home.
For you, this question as well. It says, in fact, the president should have opened the basic schools yesterday and make them enforce physical distancing. Those of us in the villages have noticed that the children are even more exposed at home than when they were in schools. It is coming from Desmond in Techre. I don't know where that is. He says to also ask you, what is government doing about private school teachers' salaries since lockdown?
Yeah, there's something about leading a country. I know the president gets this all the time. He has all the facts about the virus, how it spreads, and the reason why he also made a decision that the school should be closed down. So Desmond, all that I'm going to tell you is this: at the appropriate time, where the risk is no longer there, our schools will be closed. The president will not put any life at risk at this time by opening schools when he very well knows that the situation is not safe. At the right time, our schools will open and no life will be put at risk. And I think that is the most important thing. And there was a question about private schools.
Yes.
I have not received any requests from any private school at the Ministry of Education. I haven't seen anything here. I hear the association, some of the associations are indicating that they are talking to other government departments, but there's no request there. What I'll tell you is this: our public schools are public schools. Their salary is the responsibility of the government. Private schools, if there are any petitions to the government, I'm sure we have a listening government, and the government will dialogue with them and see how best they can be helped. But you also know if a private school is registered as a company, and there are some loans that are coming for businesses, I don't see why that organization may not be able to talk to the banks and say that I will create a business. Private school is a business, even if you're dealing with children, and how can you help me? So I don't think anybody should leave themselves out. When the other businesses are being supported, they should also be able to talk to their bankers about what may be out there for them that I may not be able to know at this time.
Okay. Abdul Fattah is sending this from Wale Wale. He says, I have more than 150 senior high school students. And what I currently do is I call some of, it says, what I have initiated is calling some few of those students whom I have identified to be academically sound, engaging them as a form of revision. I am sometimes overstretched to attend to the selected few via phone calls. So he selected those he believes are academically sound. What happens to those who are not academically sound, like some of us when we started junior high school? And even that is overstretched.
He's doing his own thing to help, but the technologies is somehow confusing and disturbing. I think it is those who are not sound that need the help the most at this time, and not so much those he's characterizing as academically sound. But the good news, though, is that as an individual, he's volunteering his service and he's doing something. And I think I will commend him and then ask him, ask others to do the same to help other students. And these efforts are the efforts that I was commended at the beginning, that we have different people who are really and truly doing their very best to help their communities, and they ought to be commended.
Is there a way that government can support persons like this? I mean, teachers, if it's even focused on the public schools, teachers who are reaching out, you know, through e-learning platforms. Is there any support for them, for example? And I've had this question, which I think ties into it with it beautifully. I'll just read it to you. It says, I'd like to know what GIFEC is doing in these times to ensure that most rural communities have internet, or at least internet center for the rural folks to access. So say a community center where people can converge, young people can converge because they have internet.
I mean, you're talking about social distancing. Converging at a location is, of course, out of the question. But I'll tell you that GIFEC and Minister Honorable Ursula also Kufo is doing some good things. I mean, there are a number of communities that have been given access to the internet, and also computers have been given to a number of schools. But, you know, nobody prepared themselves for this eventuality that we are dealing with. And of course, some things may go very well, others may not be. That is not to say that we should not strive to do a better job. I think what this has done, as the president said in his last speech, talking about the gaps that we've seen in healthcare, we're also seeing the gaps in education through connectivity. And these are things that we are doing everything possible and will continue to do to make sure that technology will be utilized for the benefit of all, irrespective of where they live and their location in this country.
What are we going to do about adjustment of the calendar, of the student calendar? You've indicated that the whole world is at a standstill, so people, you know, who are concerned about writing the exams, etc., should relax. In Ghana, what sort of realignment is the ministry discussing so that when COVID-19 is over, we return to normalcy?
I'll tell you one thing. Various places around the world have two different things. And of course, at the appropriate time, the president will give us the green light in which as to which way to go for the final year students. In the UK, they cancelled the final exams for their what equivalent of the GCE and A levels. They use continuous assessment. In other jurisdictions, different approaches have been adopted, and I'm sure, depending upon how long this is going to take for us to weather the storm, different proposals that have been made, of course, will be given to the president, and the president will decide and give us direction as to where we should go. But at the appropriate time, I'm sure the good people of this country will hear from the president regarding his vision for the continuation of education systems and also what needs to be done for BEC and also for WASI candidates across the country.
Okay. I have, I think, about 3 more questions, then we can call it a wrap. There is someone asking about promotion results or results for teacher promotion exams. They're asking when is that going to be ready. I don't know if you have the answer to that. They're also asking about when teachers' salaries will be paid. I read the question a while back. I don't know if I got it accurate, but please go ahead.
I'll let you know these are not normal times, so they should relax. And at that time, Ghana Education Service will come out. I know before the lockdown, they were working on it feverishly to get it out. Lockdown came, they had to stop everything. So people should come a little bit and wait. It will be done. Ghana Education Service promised to ensure that promotion exams and its related activities were done promptly. They were on track before lockdown and other things came up where they had to let the employees go home. So at the appropriate time, it will be coming. I just want them to understand that we are not in normal times, but they are doing, Ghana Education Service is doing its very best to make sure that its stakeholders are served appropriately.
Someone is asking whether you have quantified, you have any statistics, or you've done any work that gives you statistics on how many people have access to the e-learning platform that the Education Ministry has provided and how many don't, so that you can tailor your interventions accordingly.
Yeah, I will tell you this. We'll have to work with the TV systems, ETV, to see if they have a rating system that will enable us to get the numbers that are watching. But besides that, we know we can easily get the data on the iCampus. I don't have it with me, but that's something that we can make available to your station so that you can put it on your website. That's very easy. We can find out how many people have logged into the iCampus and get you the numbers.
Various education districts, educational directorates across the country can put together the details that they have. Is there the possibility of working through them? Because then they will be on the ground. GTV, for example, can give you the number of people who have watched. And if you also have to bring in the private sector, here on the multi-TV platform, we also have the Joy Learning platform. So perhaps we can also give you details of those who are perhaps have the boxes, but we won't be able to give you, say, those who are watching exactly that one. GTV won't be able to tell you, but perhaps on the ground, they can bring you the specific details.
It all comes down to this emergency that we are in. Who are you deploying? It's not that simple. So we are making do with something that may not be the most optimal kind of arrangement. But the good news is that centers of innovation and pockets of innovation are springing up across the country, and they are doing their very best under very difficult circumstances. And I want to applaud those individuals who are becoming more innovative and helping their communities.
Doc, I say very big thanks to you, but if you do have any final words, we'd love to take them. I know that we'll have another of this session. Well, looks like I lost him even before I asked for the final words. But Dr. Adutwum is the Deputy Education Minister. Always takes time to answer your questions when we bring him in. He's been answering a number of questions that you've sent to us. We've put them to him as well. Hopefully, we can do this another time.